What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Comic Collector Origins. I think I'm on episode 10 now, which is crazy. The time's been flying. I have a guest today, which I'm going to bring in. He goes by the name Hoser Comics on Instagram, Hoser_comics, aka Kasper. And I've known Kasper for I feel like over a year, probably two. I mean, within the 2 years I've been doing this. So he's been in the community for quite some time, possibly even before that, which we'll find out today. But let me bring him on and say hello. Casper, what's up, brother?
Hi guys, how you doing? Pretty good.
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. What would you say it's been like? Like it's been like a 2 year range that we've been kind of dabbling, right, with conversation.
I'd say at least a year for sure. I just should have known you. Definitely edging on 2 years. I think I have like my phone with the anniversary date, but whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the show. You are I think my 10th guest now, and it's been going pretty good every week, in and out. So I appreciate you taking the time to get on, man.
No, I'm honored. I'm honored to be on the show and be your 10th guest.
Awesome. We'll take a quick sec to say hello to everybody in the chat. And then we'll get going with this. So Ruben Guzman in the house early, hanging out. Cowabunga, man, what's going on, brother? Always good to see you. Hello to Todd Christian. Thanks for stopping by. And we also have Baby Driver. Hello. And we got Perry Comics in the house swinging by as well. So thank you for stopping by. Anybody that's watching the replay, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the replay. And if you're new to Comic Collector Origins, this is basically a way to get to know the comic industry or the comic community a little bit more and ask questions about kind of the origin story of how you got started and how you got involved. And so, as I'm talking to Kasper here, Kasper, let's dive right into this, man, with just kind of your origin story. Let's start with when was it that you were first introduced to comics, whether that was starting to read comics or collecting comics, or maybe that ties into movies or cartoons or anything like that. When was that? How old were you?
Yeah, I'd have to say there's a couple of different points where I think the jump offs were. But definitely, because I grew up in like the early 2000s, like with all the Justice League Unlimited and all those like era of Bruce Timm cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
it really got me into DC. And then through that was like a bunch of like little comics. I never read a lot when I was young, just like the occasional graphic novels because they're easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the single issues. And then yeah, after that it kind of just progressed more different series and shows. Like because most kids grew up with like the X-Men and yeah, DC, all the different ones to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
But then I found for me like the actual jumping off point to actually reading comics like monthly or weekly definitely came when New 52 started back up.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brought me back into reading Green Lantern and like reading Green Lantern and becoming a much bigger fan than ever.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome, man. So Green Lantern was something you kind of gravitated towards early once you started diving into it. Okay, cool. And what about, I mean, did you have anyone in your life at that time that kind of inspired you to get more into comics, or was this something that you kind of just stumbled across yourself?
It was a mix. Like I definitely like family wise, I had like a cousin or two that liked comics. I didn't have too many that were really into it.
Mm,
I know I had some really close friends growing up that were very big into it, and then one other thing was the Star Wars for me was huge. Like that was probably my first big love, and then through that, all the different Star Wars comics and media, and then following into that and those groups. So I had my best friend Callum. He was the one who helped me really get into some stuff.
mm.
And on top of that, I had some other families, like family members, but mostly it was kind of only cultivated.
Okay, gotcha. So you started doing some exploring on your own and research and things like that as well. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, and what about so was it so it was a lot of DC then that really was your first focus, because I know that you dabble in a good amount of Marvel as well. Was that all something that kind of came together, or was it really just a DC focus at first?
I was gonna say, yeah. You look at my page; it's pretty dominated by Marvel,
Yeah.
especially. I've been trying to bring more DC, but it's hard trying to find stuff that's more than just like Green Lantern, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and like Wonder Person. But Definitely, yeah, DC dominated. I first loved DC,
Mm.
and then Marvel really came through. Like, give me Spider-Man, like the Raimi trilogy was integral to my childhood with a lot of
Yeah.
people, and that really made my part of my life. But then I'd say from there, Daredevil. I can't remember what really got me into Daredevil originally, but it was just something about the character that hooked me. It definitely wasn't the movie, and it was something else. And then I just jumped from there and started reading Daredevil stories from that point.
Gotcha. Okay, I was wondering where and when the Daredevil fandom kind of came together, because that's when I see your page and when I see you on Instagram, I think a little more of you are that diehard Daredevil fan that I've kind of connected with, and especially with some of the things you've posted, and I think even just your Instagram profile page or picture, your profile picture
Yeah,
has always been something relating to Daredevil, right?
yeah. Originally had my favorite Daredevil cover it just had like poser comics over it, which was Daredevil 53 is the one where it's the yellow suit, my favorite. On top
Yeah.
of that, with the I can't remember the scale, the lawyer scale.
Oh yeah.
From there, now it's the logo for the Symbiotes comic group, which
Mhm.
I get the logo.
Nice,
Sure.
nice.
And then I had that with the with She-Hulk and Daredevil behind it.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, man. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things that you and I first connected on was
Oh yeah,
with our Daredevil stuff. I see Mercy's in the chat here. What's up, Mercy? He was on a couple weeks ago as a guest of mine. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, from there, I mean, well, let's talk about have you gone to, or what was your first time or your first experience at a comic book store? Can you recall that, where it was, and kind of maybe who you were with or what you bought?
I definitely think I know the one store that's pretty famous in Toronto. More back in the day too was called Silver Snail,
Okay.
and they're pretty much like that. That every city, like main city, has their big store. Like New York has Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas has, Torpedo. So
Right.
Toronto had Silver Snail, which was bigger back in the day. It was on a different street. It was the layout was weird because it was like more a giant corridor than like square.
Hmm.
But I remember go there because when I was a kid, there was the Star Wars miniatures, the Wizard Entertainment. I'm not sure the company. Wizard Coast by Coast or whatever.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, yep.
Those I absolutely love those things. So I would go in there and occasionally buy them like $1 and go through. And then at the same time, when you walk in, you have all the lines of comics.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going across, looking at the Batmans and Green Lantern, and there was another. What was the other one that was really big for me? It was a Marvel one. Oh, fucking! I'm staring right at it. It's a Howard the Duck.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm looking right at it. Howard the Duck too. That was a very big one because of like the comedy. Comedy is definitely a big thing for me in comics.
Oh, okay. Right, gotcha. That's what yeah, and I remember and thinking of just comedy and comics, I know a lot of the She-Hulk stuff that I didn't realize until you kind of started sharing and talking more about She-Hulk. I never read some of like the John Byrne She-Hulk and some of that stuff, so didn't realize that they broke the fourth wall and kind of had some of that humor going in that way too, until you started to, I think, sharing a little more.
One of the earliest uses of meta humor for Marvel, at least, and yeah, just it's really well done. Like really set the bar for how comics can be read.
Yeah, right. And what about for like going to conventions, Comic Cons, things like that? Have you? I mean, obviously, right now we are in a bit of a lull, but
It's so sad. I miss it.
I know, man. I'm with you there. Do you recall kind of maybe your first bigger Comic Con, or were you someone that was going to a lot of them, obviously before the pandemic?
Yeah, I definitely say that when I was younger too. I was really young. I never even really acknowledged them. I thought San Diego was the only Comic Con in the world.
Oh man, yeah.
As I got older, I realized, there's ones around like the U.S., the Canada, across the whole world. There's Comic Cons, just different names. And then I found the one here is called Fan Expo, and it happens in August every year. Every year, and
Yeah.
But so I went to that one. I can't remember what year was the first year. I think it was 2014. I think I'd have to say somewhere around then is when I went there the first time. I wasn't at the time. I wasn't super big into buying single issues yet. Like I hadn't gotten to that point. But I did buy a couple. There was a bunch of like random early Batmans. I was like, oh my god, look at these! And I pulled them out of the bin. It looked like someone's dog chewed them, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever I've seen in my life. This is before 1960. So then I would get I bought little things like that and like little trinkets from when I would go to this con. And then after that, I never went for a couple of years. And then once I got back into comics is when I gave myself that push. And then pretty much every year consistently I've gone since probably 2016, I'd say.
Okay.
And then also now I realize where all the other cons are in Toronto. It's like the small ones they do and
Right.
some of the other little ones.
It's like some vendor ones and things like that. We have a couple
Yeah,
around here in Jersey.
their comics, you go and you just trying to find stuff for your runs.
Yeah, those are good ones. I like those, and I miss those too because we've had here near me in Jersey. I mean, I had one. There's like a circus one that goes around basically once a month in a different town. It's always like only 10, 15 minutes from me. And I heard they're just starting back up again. I don't think I'll be going anytime soon, but it's basically a collection of vendors that just kind of agree to, meet up from time to time, and you can pick through their boxes. And so, yeah, I mean, even a taste of that is something nice.
I imagine a clown car is pulling piece to the circus. Clown is like straight through.
Circuit. That's what I meant. Circuit.
I was like, wow.
All these clown cars coming by. That'd be great. All right. So you talked about the new 52 kind of being the thing to spark that fire to really start collecting more. So at that time, is that where you were starting to buy single issues? You were doing it on a weekly or monthly basis, or what?
Funny enough, not actually single issues at the time. At the time, it was more like the graphic novels, like the volumes. Because they released them there at the time when they released the new 52, I remember them being really affordable, at least the first ones, and then they went back to like the normal pricing, and then so I was able to grab a bunch of different series and then read them all out, and then from there I can pick and choose. And then after New 52, I picked bunch of different series. Marvel, I can't remember reading much at the time, maybe just Moon Knight and some Daredevil, and then from there. When Rebirth happened, when it really kicked in, is when I started really wanting to get all the single issues. So I started buying Green Lanterns. I started buying random single issues, more for the covers. This is reading the books through the volumes too.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. That makes sense. All right, yeah, that's I feel like that was kind of my first reintroduction to comics as well, and especially the new 52 and things like that. But then I know I backed off, like was nowhere near where I am now either, with just like fully on collecting and having short boxes duplicate out of nowhere, things like that. So when was it that you started to get like keys? When did you start collecting keys?
Funny when I talk about Howard the Duck is because I'm sitting in front of me is the I consider my first key I ever bought, which was I also consider like the kickstart to me collecting like pricier books was when I went to go see the funniest thing when at the time she was my girlfriend, now she's my fiance. We went to go see Justice League, and there was a bookstore next to the theater, and I'm like, oh, let's go in there for a little bit, kill some time. And I look on their wall, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. It was Howard the Duck, and I look, and I'm like, oh, number one, and the price was like I think it was like $30 or something. And I'm like, oh, I want that. And she's like, $30 in my comic. I'm like, yeah. I have to. And the next thing I know, I grab it, and then I'm like, the holiest grail to me, because it's like the first key I ever bought. It's Howard the Duck one. At the time I didn't realize that was not his first appearance. I thought that was his first appearance too, but it's a picture, which I have now because I had to make that complete.
Right.
Eventually, I went and got it graded, and it came back a 6, which I was like,
hey, nice.
I was like, cool. I'm like, this is my first comic I seriously bought.
Yep.
And then
Very
so
cool.
that was the first key, and then after that, it was kind of the itch. The itch kind of kicked in. I was like, now I'm picking up little things as it went, and then next thing I know, her going $30 in the comic's a lot of money to me going, hey, so this comic I want, but it's a couple hundred. I'm gonna have to slowly do one on eBay for $400.
Oh, yep. We've been there. Those conversations.
How bad I guess.
Yeah, $30 starts to look like nothing. It's just like that's a weekly price right there for a pull list.
2 hours of work here. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's cool. And I noticed. So that's a CBC CS graded book that you have there. Do you recall the first time you got it? Was that your first graded book, or do you recall your first graded book that you got?
Funny, actually, that was the first one I submitted ever, and I submitted CBCS, and it took me so long to get them back. I had to hound them twice over to like push the things ahead because it took so long. I think it was like they said so many weeks it would take, and then it was pretty much triple that time.
Oh wow!
And then I only ever did CBCS once again, which is for the verified service, the red ones. And then after that, I was like, I didn't like the wait times; it was just too much. They've gotten better, I've heard, but at the same time, it's just to me.
Mm.
And then the actual first graded one I got, which was the same convention I went back to the first time, was Avengers. I can't remember the number. I'm better with the pictures. It's the one where Hawkeye is shooting Ant-Man off the bow and arrow.
Oh yeah, I should know this one. I had it up for a while. 250 something, maybe 220, 226, 220 something.
A fun number, some even one.
Yeah.
That was the first one I bought, and I got it for, it was like $50. I think it was a 9 point something. Basically, I didn't understand at the time how anything worked like that, like pricing wise for stuff. So I didn't expect. I didn't know what to expect when it comes to grading prices.
Right. Well, I was with you. I was with you there too. Definitely a learning curve for sure.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, that issue, and I say I should know the number of the issue, is because my dad actually drew the penciling for the inside of that book. Yeah, he's on the inside of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I knew your dad did art, and at the time, all that stuff. I didn't realize that was one of the issues. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was one of his. He didn't do the cover, but I remember specifically asking him. Yeah. So it's funny you bring that one up. I thought I should know the number because it's around here and I've had that. But that's a great. I love that issue. All right. So what about? I wanted to ask you. Sorry, my earbud keeps popping out here. Okay. So with let's talk about your collection goals that you have right now for your comic collection. I know this is something that can change, and obviously, I mean, definitely has changed for me. What's the big picture for you right now, and where do you see yourself with these books 20 to 30 to 40 years from now? I mean, is this something you're going to pass down to kids or family members, or you're going to take them to your grave? Or are you flipping books right now as we speak? What is that goal for you?
I definitely say I've kind of transitioned how I'm trying to collect. Like, I'm trying to be more, not smart about it, but more specific. So I'm trying to clear through all my trade paperbacks. I don't really want any of them anymore, because they were nice at the time to collect and read, especially, but they just kind of sit in the long boxes. There's not really a nice way to display them, and at the same time, it's not the best way. So what I'm trying to do now is collect hardcovers and omnibuses of stories that I like, and I collect them all. And then at the same time, I want to just focus on single issues. So for reading new stuff, if I really like the run, I go back and I'll order the hardcover omnibus that they're going to release for it. And for actual issues, like speaking of, I'm trying to focus more on runs now and then just keys. So obviously, as I think you've known, Daredevil, I'm trying to fill that run of 1 through 380, which that's a big daunting task for me, but I found it's been really easy because it's a character I like. He doesn't have that many expensive keys during that run. There's only like maybe I'd say 20 to 30 that are big. And then on top of that, he's one of the Marvel characters that did, like the classic Silver Age ones. He doesn't have a lot of issues compared.
Right.
And on top of that, She-Hulk, I'm trying to collect every She-Hulk issue of her series. So not like her every appearance, but like all the different ones, which so far I'm doing really good at. I'm just missing some of the more modern stuff, and I'm also dreading a lot of the variants, because those variants, some of them are ridiculously pricey, and I don't know why.
I noticed that. Yeah, that is kind of a pain when you're trying to grab all those. But that's cool, man. I hope that you get there soon, especially with the Daredevil stuff. It's definitely a fun hunt. I'm also doing very similar to you, slowly trying to get 1 through 200, and then probably we'll finish that out and go to at least, like you said, like around the 300 range or 380. So
trying to find issues 300 to 380 is very hard to find, but not like you can find them on eBay occasionally, but like in person, anywhere you go, any cons, any shows or stores, I can never find anything in those last 20 issues. Like, I'm hoping to find the last issue in person, because I don't want to have to keep resorting to eBay and paying all the shipping costs.
Yeah, I hear you there. I definitely, and plus, eBay kind of takes the fun out of the hunt,
Yeah, you just need to search a thing, add the cart, and you can.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel the same. Yeah, no, definitely not. So I'm definitely with you there. What about like some of the keys that you've talked about before, and I'm sure you're going to have more bringing up. Are these long-term things you're going to you plan on keeping forever? Are they something you're going to pass down to people, or are you going to sell them at some point?
I think because a lot of the stuff I'm collecting, at least at the moment, it'll probably change as I get older. Is a lot of them are that mentality of low grade versus no grade. So I
Hmm.
have a lot of stuff that is in the lower to mid range. I do have stuff that are higher, and that's kind of in the mindset of what I really wanted or stuff that's modern.
Hmm.
So for me, the flippability of it all isn't as high on my value. I think a lot of it I will when I get older. When and do it if I have kids, if they are into comics, and I hope they are, because you're gonna see the nerdy dad have a whole room with their and friends are gonna come over. Don't go in there. You don't look at that.
Right. Don't touch it.
So I would love if I had the kids and they enjoyed the stuff I did, and I could pass down to them
Mhm.
different things. Um, and I would give them like very specific stuff, like oh, you'd get this and this. But I think most of it will probably stay with me for a long time, and then what I can make off of it for good reasons, like say sell stuff for like the good financial reasons, not just for like random stuff like a vacation, but for savings. Then I think I do that. But
Right.
for now, it makes me smile looking at them, and that's about it. Pretty much
Yeah.
happy with that.
That's the best part is being able to just kind of glance back and be like, yeah, that's right. I got that. At least that's what I do. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes like Sid comes home and she just sees me occasionally just looking at the boxes, just staring at ones on the shelf. Is like, what are you doing? Just cleaning? I'm like, no,
Nope.
I'm just looking at it.
Just yeah, man. You got to take time to admire your collection, man. It's that's why we do it, right? I see there's a couple other people in the chat here. Dave is in the house. Omni Dude reporting for duty. What's up, Omni Dude? We got John's Comics with Kids in the house saying yo, and we got Raging. What's up, Raging? Good to see you, brother. He's another one that's going to be on my show in a few weeks. I think we have something scheduled, so very cool. All right, so we talked a little bit about your goals. We talked a little bit about your origin and how you got started. What about what are you currently reading right now? There's some older stuff, some newer stuff. I know this is another thing that we've talked about because for a little while we were kind of neck and neck on reading some of the Fantastic Four earlier Jack Kirby stuff,
Oh yeah,
and things like that. So that was another fun thing that we've kind of connected with for a while. So where are you at with the older stuff you're reading and maybe some modern books? What are you reading right now?
definitely older stuff. I'm really slacking on the Fantastic Four. I'm still stuck at that issue like 80 something number. Like once I get that 100, I said I would go back. I would go and jump to it was either X-Men. It was the when the Giant Size onwards to when Byrne left. I'd read up to
Mhm.
that and Ant-Man's like original Tales to Astonish. But right now, that's pretty much the older stuff I'm reading. I have little things I just occasionally pop onto, like I picked up a bunch of omnibuses, like I mentioned, and as I have the Sensational She-Hulk, all of John Byrne's runs. So I'm gonna read through that and find some panels, maybe find some that I want to get tattooed because I've been thinking about that.
Nice.
But yeah, if that's old stuff. New stuff. When I was looking at the question and you said that, I was like, oh boy, my pull list is ridiculous.
Oh, really? Nice.
Currently, I have 12 ongoing series and one limited.
Wow.
Of them all, though, I basically made quick mentions. Like Hellblazer is one I've really enjoyed. I always liked that character a lot, and his new series from the Black Label has been like fantastic every way through the writing and art. And they're canceling it, so
Oh man.
issue 12. So at least it's a nice number they'll end at, not just like a random one.
Right.
But that's a shame. That's a really good series if you haven't read it and you're into that very dark and like it's very mature in the way, not like just vulgar, but very like thematically.
Yeah.
That one's a really good read right now. There's obviously Venom and Thor, like the whole Kate's era.
Yeah.
That's its own beast that like everyone already talks about. I have pretty much the same feelings. I like both of them. Both been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Variants are a bit much to me, but
Yeah, a bit.
other than that, there's other ones like Daredevil is a classic. We both that I'm so excited for what comes next in that story. Don't want to
Yeah.
spoil anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, so the next parts are gonna be really fun.
Yep.
And then another one, I have three other little ones here. Darth Vader's been really good. The
Oh,
new
nice.
it's because I'm big, as I said before, big Star Wars fan, and the new Darth Vader series is set between episodes 5 and 6, same as the new Star Wars run, and that has been it's been a very fun kind of like nostalgic trip to the prequels. So for people who grew up with that, liked it. I know a lot of people are more fans of the original trilogy, but for me, I grew up with both, so it had that feeling to it.
Right.
That's been good, and then Blade Runner has been it's surprisingly been really good too. It's an interesting story. The character in it named Anika. It starts with an A. I'm blanking on her name, but she's a very fun character in addition to the world. The timeline's kind of messed up. It's half the time, like after I finish the new issue, I come back a month later. I'm like, okay, where am I in this universe? I can't remember what year this is supposed to be taking place. And yeah, other than that, there's one other one which is Justice League Dark. That one I think has been my consistent for my poll that I have found every issue I've really enjoyed.
Nice.
I love the magic side of both Marvel and DC. DC specifically has a really rich magic side with all the different characters like Zatanna, Swamp Thing, Constantine. So that book does a really good job of showing it off. And then on top of that, the artist Alvaro Bueno Martinez, his art is phenomenal in that book. Yeah. Every page I'm just like stunned. And then I got lucky because recently he put up much of original art for sale from the series as well as other ones. And I managed to score a piece, and I'm waiting on it to come from Spain. So
oh man, that's awesome! It's coming from Spain. That's crazy.
I know. And then I looked at the tracking, got turned at the border, and I'm like, no. And I emailed him. He's like, yeah, the border sucks with stuff.
Right. So you're waiting that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those are my big polls. I have much smaller stuff on there, but nothing of huge note, like nothing that pops into mind. Or do I want to bore you with all this?
Well, no. This is great. And I was wondering if, I hear a lot of DC, a lot of Marvel titles. Are you exploring some of the indie stuff, or if you consider Image an indie, or even Boom Studios, or I've heard a lot of really good things coming out of them. Or even I know, and as we talk about Chip Zdarsky, he just came out with this new Stillwater, which I'm really interested in checking out. I haven't yet. Are you dabbling in any of those? Have you considered looking into anything like that?
Funny enough, that one Stillwater, I'm probably going to check out. My local comic shop is his local comic shop. Like he goes there and he does stuff. So I met him there a couple of times, but they're doing a sale where they're going to have that book for like $2, like $2 Canadian. So basically like $1.50 US or like cheaper.
Wow.
So doing that, so I'm going to pick that up and see. But there's some indie titles. A lot of them I kind of avoid because there's so many out there, and I'm that guy where it's hard for me to latch onto something new, and especially paying the prices. But I know one I'm still mad why it isn't back yet is Dead Eyes. That one was Dead Rabbit, and then that had to get canceled because of the names. They brought it back,
right?
And we get 2 issues. The first 2 issues is just a repeat of what was in the other one, and then we got 2 more issues after that, and then all this happened. So then issue 5 got like pushed back, and now there's no new date for it.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and I'm like, please, I had a little short list of every book that was pushed back so I can keep track, and that's the only one that hasn't come out yet. And I'm like, this is my main book, my main indie title, and I have not even seen it yet.
Oh man, I didn't realize. So I knew it was back, and I knew they changed the name and everything. Which, by the way, I still call it Dead Rabbit. Yeah, right. And I remember I bought all the variants and everything when Dead Rabbit first came out, and then when it changed to Dead Eyes, I grabbed the first couple of issues, and I just didn't. I knew the first 2 were repeats. I just never. I didn't have a chance to read the others. I figured waiting until at least the first 6 issues came out before I dabbled in it. But I actually didn't. I just assumed it was on like its 6th issue right now, but I didn't realize that they pushed it back.
I think it would have been on its like 7th now, but like or 8th, but like it's so. Where is this for this shit? Oh, he has to have it done. It has to be done. So why isn't it out yet? Like,
I'm sure it's done, but yeah, that is weird. Maybe a printing error or something like that. That is under Image, right?
It is under Image, yeah.
Okay, so that is weird because they are back to normal to some degree.
I don't think there's much other indie. There's a lot of like my Walking Dead I read before that ended, and then I actually went and read a bunch of stuff on Image's website because they have all the free first issues and the digital copies. So I went and read a bunch there. There was some series I was interested in. I might go back to. There's other ones I was kind of like I was okay. But definitely Boom. I want to check out the that new one, the one from Boom Studios, the Once and
Future. Yeah.
Once in the Future, and then there's the other one that just came out from James Tinian. There was what was it called?
Something's killing the children.
Yeah. No, it's the one that has the very cosmic, colorful covers right now.
By Tinian.
Yeah. Someone in the chat will probably throw it right in.
Yeah, yeah. How many is it out? It's got a couple issues out now.
It's like issue 2 or 3. If
Oh,
that.
okay. So it's fair. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of
Stuff
something.
like that looks interesting to me. I'd probably check out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's hard to find a lot of indie titles that like appeal to me.
Yeah.
Especially. Yeah.
Right, right.
Killing children is what Omni says.
Oh yeah, I see.
What is that then? Oh no, we find them when they're dead. That's the name. Because I knew it was like it was really long, ridiculous name.
Isn't that Ewing? Al Ewing?
Is it Ewing?
Yeah,
okay.
Right. I think Tinian is
Tinian is killing children.
Right.
Ewing is okay. Regardless, both of them I'd want to check out. But yeah.
Yeah. So this one, we find them when they're dead. That one I think just started coming out. I think that was right like last week or something. Which I had one of my LCSs put that in my pile. Yeah, haven't read that yet. So cool, man. It sounds like you've got a lot in terms of reading material, and I love that you still go back to a lot of the older things as well. I feel like you're one of the few that I really follow closely to that actually do continue to dabble in, Silver Age and early Bronze. So it's nice to see that you're, well into it. You use some stuff for digital. You use digital reading as well, right? For some of this older stuff.
Yeah, I got into when Marvel Unlimited had they had a really good sale at some point for a year membership. So I signed up with that, and now I've been doing it on my tablet. So that's how I was reading all the Fantastic Four. Right. And I really like that they let you do screenshots, so I can actually post and do those little stories. And then yes, I've been reading a lot through there, and then on top of that, there's a bunch of other. I realized you can actually create a want list, like a read list. Mm-hmm. That's limited, so I have a lot of stuff listed there that I'll probably never get to, but I'll have eventually.
Nice. Yeah, that is a great feature, and I can only imagine. I mean, even for myself, the list that goes on and on, I feel like never ends. I do like how you do those stories for your Instagram page, kind of taking screenshots of a specific, like Fantastic Four issue, and kind of breaking down your thoughts on some of that. That's always fun. So I think it's a good way to kind of get the people exposed to it if they haven't read it already.
Panels like in there's the one Fantastic Four where Daredevil comes in and he has a. What's that word? He has this cane and he does some trickery and he pulls into a gun.
Oh yeah.
So like stuff like that. Like, no one remembers that. And then if I post a little picture of it, people are like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, Dave here saying he misses the FF panels that you used to do on IG.
I need to get back into it. I really slacking on those last 20 issues or so.
Well, I know that, before this whole pandemic, I mean, you were traveling a lot, right? So you were on were you taking a train or a bus or something like that? So you had time. That time was where you were. I know you were saying you would catch up with a lot of those issues.
Every day going to work and back, hour ride, and now I just walk to work, so that makes it even now I'm watching a lot of stuff opposed to reading, but right. I'm balancing that. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, there's so much content, man. So much out there.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about some of the, maybe if you have a key issue or two that you have with you that you want to show off, something that means something special to you, anything that you want to share.
Yeah, I actually pulled it here. It's a She-Hulk one specifically. Nice. I was thinking Daredevil. I was thinking posting one of those or bringing one of those out, but I was like, that's kind of like I'm going to talk about that new, so I was well documented. Yeah. She-Hulk though, I rolled this one out, number 4 from Burns' run.
Nice.
So the reason why this one is because when I was looking into reading a bunch of different characters, is before I knew about She-Hulk, what she was, but never really read her. So when I started reading into her, and then I liked the first 3 issues. I thought they were good, and then the 4th issue is what really set her for me. Really made me a fan, was because of the 4th wall breaking and all the jokes, and the art was done, the layout, the writing, just everything about this comic felt like the perfect one shot, like a perfect. This is how a character. This is the character. Everything you need to know about her, and the art and the writing for this run is in this one issue. This is all you need. And then, my favorite joke is the end there. There's basically she's fighting Stiltman the whole time, and different stuff happens, and then she's wearing this dress and it doesn't get torn up, it doesn't rip off her just a little bit, and then she's with this character who's from the Golden Age, and what they do is this is actually the first mention of the timeline, how that Marvel timeline doesn't age. So how these characters not age is that as long as they're in print, as long as they're shown in comics, they will not age. But once they're out of the panels and they're not actively printed, they will age normally. So there's one character from the Golden Age stopped printing, so she aged as a normal person. So, anyways, they're doing her thing, talking very meta. At the end, she's like, "How? Like, I can't understand though. How was your dress not torn up?" And then she's like, "Oh, well, here, take a look." Turns her over, and the back of her dress has the Comics Code Authority stamp. And I'm like, and that ends the issue. And I was like, that is perfect. That's
yeah. Oh, that ends the issue. That's great. I need to get into more of that because I've heard great things, and especially from what you've talked about, even on your page. And She-Hulk, you excited for the TV show? I mean, I heard they just had the new announcements and who they're going to have, and what's her name, Tatiana, I think.
Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, I'm very excited for the show. I was really hyped to see what they're going to do with it. I know when I was at C2E2 and I was talking to Mike Mayhew, who did he did the covers for the Dan Slott's run, first 12 issues of his run for her. When I brought something to get signed by him, you're talking about it, and he was telling me that apparently they're using Slott's run as a guideline and a lot of his art. So I'm excited to see, based on that, how they're going to blend that into the show.
Nice.
And then with the actress that they brought in, I like her. She was in a show Orphan Black up here in Canada. I didn't realize a lot of people didn't know about that show until I'm like, yeah, don't you know her? Orphan Black's like, no, what's that show? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of characters, a lot of the same character, kind of cloned. Hard to describe, but I'm excited to see what they do with her. My main thing is she's really short. I didn't realize that she's like 5'4".
Oh wow. Okay.
I thought they'll probably just do the CGI to raise the height, the look, and everything, and she'll just be Jennifer Walters.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, a lot of it's going to be CGI when she's Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
I think the audience to the comics, and that's going to start off its own thing.
Yeah.
As long as they stay true to like that meta comedy, and they don't take it too seriously. Like they can take it serious, like a lot of this modern stuff does, but not foregoing what she is as a character.
Right. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. Well, we'll see how that comes out. I'm sure we have some time still, but so all right, let's talk a little bit about. I always like to ask my guests, when it comes to collecting, there's a lot of new people that are just getting into the hobby. I think there are people right on the outside looking in, considering getting into the hobby. Do you have any advice for anyone that, let's say, is just getting into collecting comics, or they're considering it? If someone were to ask you, I know it's a very vague question, but any specific advice or broad advice that you would give to someone that was just starting to collect comics?
Yeah, I was really thinking about that question a lot because it's a very important one to me. I think because a lot of people, the big thing with comics is it's a medium that's hard to get into because the price is a little higher for a lot of new stuff. It's a lot of continuity to get into. Just a lot of factors to it that make it hard. But I found two little answers really help. Is that definitely collect when you want to collect comics. Focus on the characters you like, and then from there you can easily branch into different artists and stories and writers. From there, because like, oh, I really like the artist and writer in She-Hulk. That's John Byrne. From there, you can branch off into Alpha Flight to X-Men or different ways. So that was definitely a big thing for me to when I tell friends like how to get into stuff. Like, oh, you like this, then definitely read this what else the writer does, and that helps kind of give you a guideline, opposed to just kind of because there's so many varying styles that it's hard to latch onto the broad thing of comics when you don't know where to pinpoint.
Right.
And then the other one for me is definitely. I wrote exactly that I said out. Yeah, be wise with your spending. Basically, set checks and guidelines and balances so you know that like don't go overboard. There's always that comic. Like there's always a comic you're gonna find it. You'll eventually find it again. It's not gonna be the exact same. Might be a little worse, but a little better. But you're gonna get it. Just be patient. You don't need to be dropping last minute, okay, there's this hot new comic. I want to spend thousands of dollars on it. And then a month ago, you could have found it in a dollar bin. And then, in a couple months, you'll find it back in that same dollar bin. maybe adult $2 opposed to one.
Yeah.
So like keeping the comics are a lot of fun, a lot to read, the art's amazing, but keep that mind that financial mind to it. You don't want to be going overboard like a lot of us end up going through in that first phase, right?
Yep, totally. I'm right there. I was totally doing that in the beginning. Didn't know any better, kind of pulling the trigger as I went on whatever. But I think that's great. Great advice. Definitely want to be patient for sure. It's easy to just kind of dive in, especially when you start surrounding yourself with hearing, oh, I got, people telling you, oh, you got to buy this, you got to buy that. And, it's good to kind of pump the brakes and kind of, figure out what it is that you want first. And I think, like you said, starting with picking your characters, going with that, and then exploring kind of the writers of those characters and artists from that definitely is a big help. And yeah, that's how I kind of started to discover other characters, is because I started looking into other creators, other writers, and kind of fell in love with how they put things together too. So yeah, it's a good combination of all that kind of mixed in one. So great advice. Always trying to spread the word, because I know there are new people that are afraid to ask certain questions, even just to how to get into this hobby, because they don't want to be embarrassed, or they don't want to look silly, and there are some collectors out there who are kind of the know-it-alls, and that certainly makes other people feel uncomfortable for sure. So
the people that you have to really kind of put out of your head, like you go, okay, just nod and smile.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Those hobbies all built on like the fun of the comics, right? You don't have to be so uptight about things.
Yeah. Totally. You want to have the fun is the most important thing. If you're not having fun with it, right? It's like, you got to enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the hobby because you're enjoying it, because you like it.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff there. All right. So we've kind of gone through a lot of the questions I like to ask my guests, in a prepared way. Right. But I do like to dive a little deeper and throw some random questions your way. So, definitely want to hit you with some of these, and then so we'll wrap up with these rapid questions, and then if you have anything that you want to share towards the end, we can go into that, or any future shows or anything. So right off the bat, if you had to choose, what would it be? Would it be Marvel or would it be DC?
And this is like all and everything, right? Like all media.
Yeah, if you had to like stop with one and only commit to the other, what would it be?
Oof. That's tough. I have to, in this current moment, I have to sadly say Marvel, because that I know DC's doing really good with their stuff again. The comics I love some of their comics. I love them. I love some of the movies, but Marvel has been just kind of clearing across the board for me. Like I think my pull list is even, so it's like hard. It's really hard to decide. Maybe in a month's time it'd be different, but I have to say Marvel for now.
Totally. Hey, you can totally tack on the for now for any of these questions. So feel free. No, I'm right there with you. So, all right, cool. So we'll put Marvel up there. What about for one favorite character? If you had to commit to one, who would that be?
That's tough. I think I can guarantee it. But I know, funny enough, my favorite actual comic character is Captain Marvel, like Shazam. Like he's actually my favorite, but there's so little media for him that it's hard to latch on to stuff.
Sure.
Outside of him, my second favorite is Green Lantern, and my third is Daredevil. So it's definitely hard to pick between the two of them.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to say Green Lantern, because the mythos is so huge. So there's so much to those characters in that world. Let alone there's so many Green Lanterns, and every one of them is so much fun. Daredevil is awesome. He has lots of really good stuff, but yeah, Green Lantern just it's its own universe. It's the X-Men Marvel of DC.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot for sure. That makes sense. What about for if you were to have a superpower and you had the choice of any one superpower, what would that be?
Ooh, the classic question.
Yeah.
Man, that's really tough for some reason. Is it that I thought I would have that answer in my head already? If I had to go with something, I think teleportation would be pretty good.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Not I guess Nightcrawler's way is because he has to know where he's going, so maybe more abstract. Where if I have the thought of it, so I don't have to see it. So say if I wanted to go like I don't know, so and so place, I can be there. I don't have to like look at a picture of like I don't know like Italy and be like, Okay, hopefully that's the same spot as the I don't think it's a wall. Just die.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's cool, man. I think you're the first to say that on here in terms
Am
of yeah. So
I?
which is sweet. Now, granted, you're the 10th
Yeah.
person on here, but yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people talk about. Oh yeah, I've had a lot of people talk about flight and invisibility and things like that. So it's cool to hear that. And I guess technically, I mean, you could really take that power and go anywhere.
That's the thing.
Yeah, like kind of unstoppable in that sense. So that's cool. I like that. I like that answer. All right, what about all right, so I limited this question down a little bit to Marvel, especially because they've been killing it on the big screen. But if you had to choose one of the MCU, because now that I know you're a big MCU fan or a Marvel fan, what would be your number one MCU movie right now if you had to choose one of them? What's the number one that you loved?
If I had only one movie to rewatch, basically, like that's the only movie I got.
Yeah.
No, normally Civil War is one of my favorite ones. Like I really enjoy that. I think it's an all around great movie. But I have to go with I actually mentioned in my story recently as one of my favorite superhero movies was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think that one is honestly it was I don't know why people bashed it at the time. There's a bit of bashing at the time, but I think it's really one of the best. Like it has everything you want. It has the emotional stakes, the growth of the different characters, the music's just as good, the action is great, and yeah, everything involved, even to the smallest details, is so good.
Yeah,
that I can rewatch that movie and still at the end of the movie be choked up at the feelings.
Yeah,
but yeah,
big time. I actually just rewatched that a few days before you shared that on your story, and I remember you bringing it up. So
brain, that's what you were.
yeah. And it's crazy because I don't know where I was or what I missed, but I just for the very first time saw the ending credits to that movie with him. Yeah, introducing.
I
don't know why. I'm like, I don't remember this. I'm literally sitting. I mean, I watched it. That was probably like my fourth time ever watching it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I never saw that part to seeing the introduction potentially of him being out there. Which is that why? I mean, I just thought the books for him never. I mean, I thought they went. If anything, they died down in terms of popularity. Or am I wrong there?
Well, I was surprised they're introducing. Like, I mean, they have to introduce him eventually because he is a pretty important character to Marvel. I don't know what now. I can't remember the last book he was in, but at the time, obviously, like Thanos Quest and Infinity Gauntlet. But they went and did that route already. So I'm curious what they're gonna do, what they're gonna use him with. I guess just Annihilation would be the only thought I can think of, big story wise.
Yeah.
But they bring him in, and yeah, it's definitely not how he. If I remember correctly, because he was in FF. That's where he came from, or one of his many first appearances.
Yeah. It's so hard to keep track.
When he was in FF, that was definitely not how he was introduced. So I'm curious how much is going to change of his origin and his story.
Yeah, that's something I'll have to see.
That's funny to watch that. Big credit. That went in my head just because it's a I don't know. The moment for me sticks in my head for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that it's kind of interesting now that I've seen it now. Mm-hmm. And I read the Fantastic Four issues probably like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
I've always known that famous cover, but to really see it kind of, hit me a little harder now, seeing it.
Chill in your body, seeing, and the music growing up and you see that image, it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, man, it's like crazy. So I'm still like shocked. I haven't seen that before. I was like, what? Wait, what? So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Todd here says I agree with your first choice, Civil War, as being the best. I like Guardians Volume 2 as well, though. And Raging saying Civil War hands down. I have to agree with that. Civil War is definitely up there. And Dave saying gotta run. Good to see you, Dave. Thanks for stopping by. So that actually is that throws me into another question I want to ask you, and I didn't even have this like written down, but this is I think this is a good question for it. What character in the MCU would you like to see in upcoming or future movies that they haven't introduced yet?
I was thinking about that the other day too. I'm like, what characters who I really love to see? Obviously, like Fantastic Four is gonna be really fun when they show up. Right. What I was kind of like, because I'm also a big Ant-Man fan. I really like the movie so far. I was hoping they were gonna go with MODOK as the villain for the third one,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Jack Black as MODOK would be pretty funny as people say online. Yeah, because it's just that big head.
Uh,
But yeah, MODOK's definitely a fun one I'd want to see.
I like that.
That's a good villain wise to see. Trying to think of hero. There's some really what's that called? I'm trying to think of some heroes I would like to see. Look around me, maybe get some ideas. Yeah, I guess just MODOK's a fun one.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Oh, Howard. So yeah, Howard Duck would be fun.
Oh yeah.
So we already saw him, but I want to see him in like an actual capacity. Not just
Right.
one off. I want to see him like actually doing something.
So, yeah, have a storyline, have a plot, something like that. That would be cool.
MODOK and Howard are obviously both comedy characters. So yeah, both of those characters would be fun.
Nice. What's up, Black Manta? Thanks for stopping by. Cool. So let me ask you a couple questions that have nothing to do with comic book, because I always like these kind of questions, kind of get to know you a little more. Yeah. So if it's you and your fiance on a Friday night and you're getting ready to decide on what you're going to have for dinner, what is your go-to decision? It could be anything dinner wise, whether you're going out or you're ordering in or you're making something at home. What is your go-to meal for a Friday night dinner?
That's fun. Because here's the thing. I can't cook it.
I'm right there with you, man.
I'm standing in the kitchen. She tried to make me cook last night, and I was like literally staring at the pan, trying to make like ground beef, like for tacos. And I'm staring at like, do I put anything in the pan first? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh. And then she looks over. I already have something in the pan burning.
Oh God,
I'm really bad. It's horrible. But I definitely say whatever go-tos we often do right now, especially because we're both really lazy with all the stuff going on. Is the place down the street from us called Hakka. It's Western Chinese food. It's blended with Indian, so it has.
You say Hawkeye?
Hakka.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
You probably think Hawkeye. Yeah, Hakka, Hakka. Yeah, it's basically Chinese mix of Indian. So it's very spicy, and I love spice, so that's like my favorite. So we basically get these. We both got our own noodles. Mine's a spicy one. Hers is a regular. I get like chili beef dry, and she gets General Tao. So basically that, and it costs us like nothing. It costs $40 for all that, and then if I fill up my whole plate with like a mountain of food, that still leaves me leftovers for lunch tomorrow. And maybe if I want to be not fat, I would have another meal left over.
That's perfect, man. That sounds great. I'm not a big fan of spice, but the rest of it sounds great. If I could take the spice out for me, I would be down to eat that. And for the price, is not too bad. So very cool. What about sports? I don't think we've really talked too much sports ever. Are you a sports guy at all? If you are, do you have a favorite team of any sport?
Funny enough, I don't really ever watch sports. My brother was really big into it, and I never really got into a lot of different ones. The only ones I ever did was when I was a kid. I really liked baseball, and like watching the Blue Jays and going to see their games. And like most of our teams really don't win anything. Now we are doing better. Like Raptors won the world. I can't remember what is it called? What cup do they call themselves? Like
for the Raptors?
Yeah, for like basketball. What do they?
They just won like the conference championship or whatever, right?
They just call that. Okay.
Yeah,
they won, and they had like big parties downtown. My friend and me rode past on the bikes to where it was going on. Someone got shot, and then
oh gosh,
yeah, someone shot, and everyone went crazy. We're on our bikes and we're like, pedaling.
Oh my god, that's scary.
Baseball I definitely liked. Like I liked it. So nowadays I occasionally tune into it. Hockey I've also gotten more into, but that's also something like I don't actively watch it. If it's on and it's in front of me, I will watch it and enjoy it. I not like the weekly watching.
Gotcha.
Yeah, most sports I ever did was like WWE when I was a kid. I was watching. Hey. That was my ritual of sports.
Nice. Hey, I still dabble. In some WWE. It's still good stuff. I know some people in the comic community are diehard fans. Which is
cool. I can see they're really into it.
Yeah. So very cool. What about let's talk a little bit about music. Where do you sit with music? Are you into certain genres, or and do you play any instruments yourselves? Like what are you into?
I am all over the board with music, like everything and anything under the sun, pretty much. But a lot of specific stuff, like I can give you examples. Like today, my favorite artist is David Bowie, so I listen to him. Like whenever I do listen to music, I'll at least listen to one of his songs, and all across the board. I like Bob Dylan a lot. Daft Punk's one of my favorites. My other big
Nice.
one is Gorillaz and like Blur. So like
Nice.
maybe Damon Albarn's whole catalog. So I love listening to that and then blasting that music. So that really my big things. And I have like a bunch of really small random stuff. Like I have a huge YouTube playlist for every decade, and I have it compiled. So if I really want to go nuts, I just hit shuffle on that, and next thing I know, I have music playing from Dean Martin all the way up to like Billie Eilish now.
That's awesome, dude. That's great. I love. I mean, I'm right there with you. I listen to a lot of different things.
Everything.
So yeah, that's dope. Very cool.
Music wise, I played when I was a kid. I played trumpet and I played baritone, all those things. Kind of forgot how to play most of that. I can still, I think, play trumpet. I just have to remember the notes. But one other instrument I played for a bit was melodica, which is very weird. Do you know what that one is?
I mean, melodica, not really. I
It's
feel like I've heard the term, but
it's funny because Gorillas. Like I learned it. It's basically imagine like a little keyboard. You play like this, and it has a tube coming out into your mouth.
oh,
To play it, you actually have to blow into it, and then you can run the notes.
oh, okay.
It's really weird. It's probably the strangest looking instrument you'll see. But if you look it up and listen to it, it's very, very trippy. Like very. If you played that, if you were in like an alleyway at night and someone played that, you'd probably be like,
oh my goodness, where am I? That's cool. I like that. Any other hobbies that you're into, or anything that you haven't shared with the Instagram world or the YouTube world before that you collect or that you're into that you want to share here?
Definitely very big into video games. I used to collect a bunch of different like consoles and like other stuff, like really random ones. Not as much now because those take up a lot of space. Comics take up space, but those take up way more.
Yeah.
Little stuff I like. I'm a huge history nerd and specifically flag nerd, like vexillology.
Cool.
So I like collecting like books and atlases on flags, which is really weird. I find them occasionally. I will grab it if I've never seen it, and then those things. And another one is I like because I'm big into history. Like history is a big thing for me. So another one I like is currency. Like I don't collect like paper notes. I have a bunch of coins from different countries and times. I don't actively like go to coin stores and buy them as I would to comics, but if I come across them once I ever travel, I will try when I leave a country, I try and get one of every denomination they have.
Nice.
Of the coin. So like when I went to England recently or before all this started, they had their pound, like all the coins, and they have two versions. They have one which is the regular, and the second one is each coin has a part of a shield. So if you line all the coins up like diagonally, it creates the coat of arms.
Oh, cool.
So so obviously every time I went to a store and I would buy some cash and I get the coins back, I'm like, God damn, I'm still missing this one. Like, hey, do you got change for this? I'm trying to get them all.
That's great. It's like Pokemon, gotta catch them all. That's cool. Yeah, I remember when you took that trip, and I was thinking like, oh my goodness, like you are right at the cuff of like this pandemic starting, and I'm like, is he gonna make it home? Like I remember you were still like there.
They closed the Canadian border the day before we were gonna leave, and I was like, so we went to the what they call the High Commission because the Commonwealth. So I went there and we're like, hey, are we still going home? If not, are you paying for our stay? Because we will be happy with that. And then they're like, no, well, because you're with this company flying, they're doing rescue flights, so you can leave. And then I was fine. We went to the airport, and then for random reason, she had a coughing fit in the morning, and I'm like, don't you fucking cough. Don't cough at the airport. I'm like, you hold your breath in.
You hold your breath.
You hold your breath. So we were on the plane. We were going to leave. The funniest story, there was this woman that was on the plane. I could hear her in earshot, like just over my shoulder, and she goes to the stewardess, and she's like, hey, yeah, I puked in the washroom. And then she goes, sorry, what was that? I was like, oh, I threw up in the washroom. It's fine. I'm okay, though. It's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry. It's like, yeah, just a stomach ache. I was throwing up in the washroom. It's like, so she told her to sit down for a second, and then it pulls all the air people aside. It's like, so next thing you know, they're kicking this woman off the plane, and they've already taken her stuff off before they even got her off. They had to argue with her, and then as soon as they left, I leaned over to the other stewardess that was walking past. I'm like, excuse me, which washroom did she use by chance?
Hey, you don't want to go in there. Oh my gosh, man! You you went through a lot there at the end. I remember you eventually got home, and then you had to go through the 14-day quarantine.
Yeah, everything was fine, just kind of boring, and then things not back to normal here. There's lots of stuff going on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
just trying to pass the time and make some money at the same time.
yeah. Stay sane, man. You got to just stay sane.
Mm.
So I'm glad that you're back. We'll wrap this up. Mercy saying it's used in tomorrow
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
today. Yep.
That's the melodic instrument. That was
Yep.
meant to be. That's like the classic place.
Very cool. Baby Driver says you
Oh yeah,
forgot hanging out with your friends, another hobby.
yeah.
Yep.
That's my one friend here.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah,
of course,
man.
but yeah, it's illegal to hang out now. Don't you?
Yeah. It's man,
They
we're
actually
in such a crazy world.
reduced, recently they had the social gatherings at a certain number. I can't remember what it was, but they reduced it down so you can't have more than 10 people.
Hmm.
If you have more than 10 people, you get like a $5,000 fine.
Right.
Which I don't know how anyone's going to pay it if they start fining people.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's happened here. I mean, people are getting fined already.
Really, I find it so crazy.
Yeah. But well, dude, man, thanks so much for being here, for hanging out. Is there anything that you have coming up, any shows, anything you're involved with that you want to give a shout out to, or anyone that you want to say hello to?
I want to say hello, my friend there, the one who's in the chat watching. Definitely all to my other buddies in the Symbiotes comic group. We're having a lot of fun doing our stuff, trying to plan when the next convention is going to happen. If it does happen
Yeah.
in the year, whenever they do it, and hopefully attend that. Like I said, regardless, I'll make it out to whichever one in the States. I'll fly out to it, and then.
Yeah.
I heard not much is going on. I do. One thing I'm planning on doing is I opened it up already. Is a comic selling Instagram because I have a bunch of stuff I do want to sell. Like, but there's no. It's hard for me, my brain, to kind of how my format is in my page, putting stuff up for sale there. It doesn't. How you sell stuff on Instagram and how it works well doesn't work with the format how I type it.
Right.
I'm putting it at its own thing. I just gonna slowly build up a bunch of pictures and catalog before I just splurge all over.
Nice. Yeah, I ended up making like a seller page myself just to kind of move some things that I don't want in the collection anymore.
Yeah,
I'm running out of space too. That's the other thing. So
that's the issue. You got so much, and like I converted my side of the closet into a whole comic storage area. So I built like the whole cabinet thing so I can have the drawers slide out. I was gonna put sliding drawers, but then I realized it's gonna be more pain. So then it's worth it to just put the bins in there. But yeah, I was gonna ask you how many people do you already have lined up for your next shows? Because this is number 10 we're doing right now.
Yeah, so I have guests booked out to the end of October.
Okay.
Maybe one going into November. I have a couple like in the air right now. Some people that have been interested. It's tough to like plan that far ahead.
Oh yeah, it's everything going on.
Yeah. So I have a list of people that I've kind of touched base with, and kind of following up with them weeks prior to whatever whatever thing I have planned with them. So next week I have Jen is going to be on, and she is also from Canada. Life. Well, what's her? I can't think of her YouTube or her Instagram handle right now. Like Life with a Geeky Mind. If I'm mixing that up, I'll have it posted and set up here for Instagram later. But she's also from Canada, and I've been following her for a while. But yeah, so we have a lot of guests lined up, but certainly open for more. There's no limit to this. I love doing this. I love being able to get to know the community more, and also just having other people kind of seeing people. And some people on Instagram, they don't put their face on their channel ever, so it is kind of nice. Yeah, to see a person's face and be able to get their personality a little bit more.
And actually get emotions opposed to just typing.
Yeah. And you've been pretty active on Instagram. You've shown your face plenty of times before this. So, but there are some that I've gotten on here or I plan to get on here who haven't really shown their face. So it's kind of nice to kind of, get them involved more. So
yeah, it's just a matter of getting that, like, just getting that foot out there and like not really getting super self-conscious about like seeing yourself exposed to the whole world.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, this is just like a fun, chill conversation, right? And it's all about you, so it shouldn't be too difficult in terms of like, answering questions, right? So, but again, Kasper, thank you so much, brother, for hanging out with me today. Definitely have to have you back on at some point. Would love to do more and just hanging out and talking comics. So we'll have to plan something there. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you're watching the replay just now, thank you for taking the time to watch the replay. I always appreciate that. Make sure you like the YouTube video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be back next Saturday with another guest, as I just mentioned. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so everybody have a happy Saturday, good rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you all very soon.